I made like 100 today, but was hungry and looking real bummy today. You was bony and looking too funny today. I don't care, niggas still make change. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Chatting with Cheeze podcast. I'm your host, Fat Cheeze. Y'all already know the motto: no gimmicks, only the real. This is episode 31. Y'all know what I need from y'all. I need y'all to continue to smash that subscribe button. We are on our way to 200 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button. Also, I need y'all to like and share the content. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we had an eventful weekend in the NFL. The divisional round of the playoffs. We had some exciting games, and now we got the results of those games, and we headed into the NFC and AFC championship games later on this weekend. But I'm gonna go ahead and recap some of the most exciting games from this past weekend in the divisional round, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit y'all with some topics. So the first topic I got: the Washington Commanders versus the Detroit Lions. To me, that was the most exciting game of the weekend. It was a shocker, I think, to a lot of people. But the Washington Commanders went into Detroit and beat the Lions 45-31. The Lions was heading into that game was the number one seed. Apparently, a lot of people like the Lions. I think they went to the game 8.5-point favorites over Washington, and Washington went in there and shocked the world. I think they showed everybody that they've arrived. And that, you know what I'm saying, they are for real. I'm going to start with Washington side of things because they won the game, and then I'll go ahead and work my way down to Detroit. But on the Washington side of things, and this is crazy to me because I think if anybody, let's rewind back to the beginning of the season. If somebody would have told you that the Washington Commanders would win 12 games, they would win their first playoff game, they will win the divisional round of the playoffs and be headed to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 33 years, basically in the first year of a rebuild, new head coach, GM, owner, with a rookie quarterback. I think anybody would have laughed and been like, hell no. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they're doing. The Washington Commanders have been outstanding this season, and they have been continuing that through the playoffs. Shout out to the head coach, Dan Quinn. You see the energy, the new energy in the team. You see the guys want to play for him. You see they out there going hard. And this just looks like this team has caught fire at the perfect time. They've caught fire at the perfect time. Shout out to GM Adam Peters. I believe he came over from the San Francisco 49ers, but they've just come with the head coach, GM, and owner Josh Harris have done to this team. You just see a complete transformation. It's a complete culture change, and of course, it doesn't even need to be spoken at this point. But what Jaden Daniels has done for this team, I mean, for you to be able to go into Detroit, hostile environment, number one seed. Those fans in Detroit are super excited. They got a good team. You know what I'm saying? We know how down Detroit has been for years. And for the Washington Commanders to go into Detroit and be able to win that game, and to me, in a great fashion. They didn't squeak by. They didn't go in there and say, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't no field goal to win, what we used to seeing from them throughout the season. This was, to me, a complete beatdown on Washington's side of things. I felt like watching that game, Washington could have literally scored on every possession, every single time they touched the ball. Detroit defense, they had no answers for them on the defensive side. Jaden Daniels did what he's been doing all year. No turnovers, making precise throws, making the right decisions, not putting the ball in harm's way. The running game got going. Brian Robinson finally got his face back this week. Austin Eckler came in and gave him some juice. De'Ami Brown continued to have a solid playoffs. He continued his hot streak, what he did in the Tampa Bay game, and did the same thing in Detroit, and it was just awesome. Terry McLaurin, he do what he normally do. He did what he normally do. Be that number one guy, be that security blanket for Jaden Daniels, and they steamrolled Detroit. Honestly, I never felt like the game was kind of close at the beginning. Detroit went out early, but I felt like once Washington took command of the game, I felt like it wasn't nothing that Detroit Detroit didn't have an answer for him, especially once Jared Goff started turning the ball over. But on the Washington side of things, Jaden Daniels gave you 299 yards, 2 touchdowns with 122.9 QB rate. He had 51 rushing yards. Brian Robinson had 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler gave you 47 yards on the ground with 41 receiving. De'Ami Brown had 6 receptions for 98 yards. Terry McLaurin had 4 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz gave you 5 receptions, 28 yards, and a touchdown. They won the time of possession. It felt like when Washington touched the ball, about 4 or 5 minutes ran off the clock before Detroit was able to get the ball back. Washington controlled the whole tempo of the game. They was able to get it going on the ground. So once they took the lead and Jared Goff started making mistakes, and it was like Detroit felt like they had to press. They felt like they had to press. They was playing catch up the whole time, and I felt like that's why you started to see some of the trick plays from Ben Johnson because in that offense, because they felt like they had done everything. You know, the game was getting out of hand. The game was getting out of hand for them. So I felt like Ben Johnson tried to go deep in his bag to, you know what I'm saying, get him back in the game, but it wasn't enough. Like I said, Washington had 0 turnovers. Jaden Daniels have been phenomenal in these playoffs. Just what you're seeing from him, me personally, this is the greatest rookie quarterback season of all time. And honestly, I don't think it's close. What you're seeing from this young man is just... It's amazing. The poise, he never looked like he's rushing. He never looked like he's panicking. He never looked like he's out there trying to do too much. He's taking what the defense is giving him. And I think his confidence within himself, you see that around the rest of the team. You know what I'm saying? You see it. They confidence. They know as long as we got this guy under center, we always got a chance. And you know what I'm saying? They should feel that way. Jaden Daniels surpassed Andrew Luck for the most offensive yards by a rookie, including playoffs in NFL history during Saturday's win over the Lions. Entering the game, Daniels only needed 190 yards to pass Luck, and he got it in the second quarter on a 58-yard touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin. Daniels finished with 350 yards of total offense, completing 22 of 31 passes. Like I said, Jaden Daniels he's been amazing this year. You can't take nothing from him. You seen it when he was coming out of LSU. He wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner for nothing. Like I said, the things that he's done for this team in his first year is nothing to be scoffed at. Like I said, this is the greatest rookie quarterback season of all time. And he's taking what he did in the regular season and doing it in the playoffs. A lot of people were saying that was the knock on Washington all year going into the playoffs. Well, they haven't beat a winning team. They haven't beaten any playoff teams. Well, they just did it. They've been doing it, and they've been doing it in a major way. Like I said, for them to be able to go into Detroit in that hostile environment, Detroit riding high, you know what I'm saying? They city is excited. Everybody, Detroit, to me, all year I had Detroit as the favorite to come out of the NFC. And for Washington to go in there and do what they did to them, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Jaden Daniels' playoff stats, 567 yards, 283.5 yards per game he's averaging. His average is 8.6 yards. He has a 6.1 touchdown percentage. 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers with a 116.2 QB rate. If you look at it right now, the final 4, you got Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Now, I know a lot of people going to say Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. I think Josh Allen, I would put Josh Allen, however you want to argue, he's in the top 3. Right now, I'm willing to say, and I don't care, out of all 4 of the quarterbacks playing this upcoming weekend, Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the playoffs by far. He's the best quarterback in the playoffs by far. Patrick Mahomes does not look the same how he's looked in previous years right now. Josh Allen, to me, was not very impressive this past week against Baltimore. Jalen Hurts, to me, have not been impressive so far in the playoffs. Jaden Daniels has played the best football at the quarterback position right now, currently, in the playoffs. So right now, heading into this Final Four, Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback this weekend, hands down. And I think Washington is the scariest team just because they riding high. This reminds me of that 2007 year when the New York Giants was able to get hot at the right time, go on the road, and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. Right now, Washington, they look amazing. Like I said, with Adam Peters, Josh Harris, Dan Quinn, along with Jaden Daniels, what they have been able to do for this team, the confidence, you see it. When they walk on the field, we not scared of nobody. This is not the same Washington team from last year or a couple of years ago. This is a completely different team, and they showing everybody. They showing everybody this year that this for real. We ain't laying down. We ain't going nowhere, and especially with that boy under center. As long as we got him under center, we believe we can go in and we can beat anybody. So I wanted to touch on Washington first because they won the game and they deserved it. On the Lions side of things, I felt like the Lions, they beat themselves, really, for the most part. Washington went in there and did what they were supposed to do, but on the Lions side of things, I just felt like you started to see, and this is no excuse, but the injuries and things that they've been sustained and headed towards this playoff run, they reared their head in this game. Just and the costly turnovers. And this is the reason why with the Lions, and I'm sorry, and I think, and people, you may not agree, the talent around Detroit has talent through and through. On the defensive side, they were injured, and on the offensive side. But when Jared Goff is your quarterback, it's never a guarantee. Jared Goff had a bad game. Jared Goff had a bad game at the worst possible time. He threw for 313 yards. He had 1 touchdown, but he had 3 interceptions with a 59.7 QB rate. The first interception that he threw, I believe, was the pick 6 to Martin, the safety for Washington. I just think it was a bad ball. The ball was high in the air. He basically threw it right to him. And then, you know what I'm saying, he got blasted by Frankie Louvu trying to make a tackle. I don't know why he thought he would be able to make that tackle, but I just think that Washington routed him from Jump Street. And the play, and this is what I don't understand, and this is the thing that kills me with this new NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs, first and foremost, I don't understand why Jahmyr Gibbs is not the starting running back for the Detroit Lions. Montgomery, I like Montgomery, but Jahmyr Gibbs should be getting the bulk of the carries for the Detroit Lions. That's the first thing. But my thing is this. Okay, Washington, you get the ball first, you go 3 and out. Washington get the ball, they go down, you stop them on fourth down. You get the ball back, you go downfield, you go all the way downfield running the ball, you score a touchdown. They get the ball back, they go down, they kick a field goal. Jahmyr Gibbs gets you all the way down the field in the red zone. You have a chance to go up 14-3 and kind of, you know what I'm saying, have control of the game from there. Instead, you take Jahmyr Gibbs out, you put Montgomery in, it's a 3rd and 1, and instead of you 3rd and 1, you don't trust Montgomery to get 1 yard, you motion him out the backfield to throw the ball, and you end up getting a strip sack. And that, to me, changed the whole momentum of the game because Washington goes down and score, and they take the lead. And they never look back after that. Like I said, you got to understand, at the time, you got to understand what's going on. And I put that on Ben Johnson as well. You got to understand what's going on in the times of the game. Your defense is depleted. Washington has showed you on 2 possessions that they're going right down the field. So you gotta get every opportunity to say, you know what? We gotta take it. When we get in the red zone, we gotta take advantage of these. We gotta come away with some points. You can't get a strip sack, and now that's changed the whole momentum of the game. Now Jared Goff is rattled. Now once you get down by a certain amount of points, yes, Teddy Bridgewater came in. They was able to do the ending around to Jameson Williams. They scored a touchdown, and you know they kept it goes. But I don't feel like the game was ever really I don't feel like Detroit ever really took control of the game at that point. And then with the pick 6, I think to me the pick 6 sealed the game. But it's just certain things like what got you there. Jahmyr Gibbs is on fire. They can't stop him. Instead, you want to continue to throw the ball. Now you get to a point where you get so far behind, you don't have a choice to throw the ball. And Jared Goff is rattled. He's rattled. The second interception that he threw was at the end of the first half to Sorensen. He was forcing it. Sorensen was trailing Jameson Williams the whole time, and soon the ball was right to him. He tricked him the whole time. You know what I'm saying? It felt like that they started pressing, and I don't understand. You was at a position where you didn't have to. Jahmyr Gibbs had 105 yards with 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams had 61 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. He threw an interception. Same thing with him. You try to run a trick play. You put the receiver in a position that he's never been before. What he should have been told was, hey, Jameson, if that throw isn't there, throw the ball away. He's put in a position where he's looking, everything's covered. The play is blown up. He tries to force the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs and throws another interception to Sorensen. I believe that's his name, the corner for Washington, the rookie. He had an amazing game. You know, he went to Michigan. For him to come to Detroit and have a performance like that, he had a hell of a game. But I just think Detroit found themselves pressing a lot in this game. Once they got down, I think they realized that their defense couldn't do anything with Washington's offense. I'm not trying to make any excuses, but they came in with 16 guys on IR. 16 guys. These are the notable guys on the defensive side of the ball that wasn't in uniform for Detroit. Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, Marcus Davenport, Carlton Davis. That's just to name a few. And I feel like that eventually it reared its head. But I feel sorry for the Detroit fans. I know they felt like this was the year. Detroit came in riding high. They ended up beating Minnesota the last game of the season to get the number 1 seed. And, you know, it's unfortunate. This one is going to sting. This one is going to sting because I feel like that was a winnable game. I feel like that Detroit should have been able to win that game against Washington. But that's not to poo-poo on what Washington did. Washington went in there and did what they were supposed to do. But I just feel like Detroit went in there and they just seemed like, I don't know, it just was like once they realized that they didn't stick to what I felt like could have won them the game. When your running back got it going, you got to keep giving them the ball. And I felt like that they didn't do that. And once Washington got in front, they started pressing and ultimately it lost them the game. Sam Laporta gave you 6 receptions, 51 yards, and a touchdown. It's awful. And then to add insult to injury, you get the number 1 seed this year, losing the divisional round when you was just in the NFC Championship game just last year. You know, so it's a rough one. Going forward, I don't know how things are going to be. Ben Johnson just got their head coaching job with the Chicago Bears, so he's now in the division with Caleb Williams and the crew. And Aaron Glenn, your defensive coordinator, more than likely he's about to get a head coaching job. It's looking like the New York Jets. So I don't know how things are going to look in Detroit. I felt like this was the year for them to go to the Super Bowl and actually win it with this roster that they had. Now you got to see what you're going to do with your coordinators, who you're going to bring in to call plays on the offense and defensive side of the ball. And it's going to be very interesting for them. But this one is going to sting for a little bit. This is going to be one that's going to keep you up at night knowing that, you know, you guys came in with all the momentum and got sent home in the divisional. But shout out to Washington. They went in there and did what they supposed to do. Now they headed to Philly in the NFC Championship for their first NFC Championship game in 33 years. So This should be exciting. Shout out to all my Washington Commanders fans. Y'all deserve to be excited. You know, y'all, hey, it's finally looking up for y'all after a long time. It's finally looking up for y'all. And this right here is an example of what a functional organization can do. When you got the right people in charge and the people with with a winning mindset, you see what can happen. All it took is 1 year. And mind you, Washington this is technically a rebuild. They still going into the offseason with $100 and something million in cap space. So it's looking up for Washington, man. It really is looking up for them. I can't hate, and nobody really should be able to hate on them what they got going on, man. It's been rough. It's been rough. So I look forward to see what happens this weekend in the NFC Championship game with them. Moving on. So moving on to Sunday night. Sunday night, you had the Baltimore Ravens go into Buffalo and to play the Bills in the divisional round to see who would go face the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. The Bills came out on top, 27-25. So my topic that I got for this one right here, for this game is, how much blame should go on Lamar Jackson? I'm going to be honest with you, right? In the first half of that game, I planned on coming on here killing Lamar Jackson because I said playoff Lamar is striking again. He threw an interception. He fumbled. But I think Lamar Jackson bounced back in that second half. I can't put all the blame on Lamar Jackson for that game. I broke it down how I did the blame for this game. So this is how I broke it down. I gave John Harbaugh 10%, Lamar Jackson 40% of the blame, and Mark Andrews 50% of the blame. So I'm going to start out with the 40% I gave Lamar. So Lamar went 18 of 25, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble with 114.4 QB rate. He gave you 39 rushing yards as well to go along with that. Lamar struggled in that first half. This is why I gave Lamar 40% of the blame. Lamar struggled in that first half. The Baltimore Ravens should have won this game. Buffalo did nothing impressive to me that I deemed to say that Baltimore, that they deserve to win this game more than Baltimore. Lamar had an interception in the first half, and he had a fumble that led to points. I think it was really the first half you could blame wholeheartedly on Lamar, but that second half I think Lamar did everything he was supposed to do to win that football game. He did everything he was supposed to do to win that game. There was nothing more you could have. I feel like it was nothing more in that second half you could have asked for Lamar to win that game. But unfortunately, bro, you the quarterback, and the quarterback, they get a bulk of the praise. They also get a bulk of the blame. So Lamar got to hold that. Lamar now has a 3-5 record in the playoffs. More than likely, he's on his way to his third MVP. But that's gonna be held against you, bro, until you can win the big game. Yeah, you're gonna look good in the regular season. It's gonna be fireworks. We know what we're gonna get, but until you able to win the big games in the playoffs, this is what is going to come out of it. You know what I'm saying? But that last second drive, that drive to take Baltimore down the field to possibly tie the game, that was a masterpiece by Lamar. That was a masterpiece. After the Bills took a 27-19 lead, Lamar Jackson led the Ravens on an 8-play, 88-yard drive that ended up with the touchdown to Isaiah Likely. Lamar did just about everything right on that drive. Lamar did just about everything right on that drive, one that seemed to determine his legacy. And it feels unfair and somehow ill-fitted to have another player let him down. But that last drive before, you know what I'm saying, that could have tied the game, that was a masterpiece by Lamar. That throw to Isaiah Likely might have been, to me, one of the best throws of Lamar Jackson's career. In that weather, to throw a dot like that, you know, after that defense kind of been having their way with you the whole for majority of the game, that was a hell of a drive. But unfortunately, they ended up short. I ain't gonna lie, I was gonna kill Lamar. After that first half with that fumble and that interception, but Lamar bounced back. In that second half, and I think there was no more you could have asked for Lamar to win that game. So that's why the reason why I'm giving Lamar 40% of the blame is just because you the quarterback, bro. And unfortunately, when you lose the game, you gotta take some blame. The reason why I gave 10% to John Harbaugh is because it's ridiculous to me, and once again, the new NFL, but it's ridiculous to me how Derrick Henry, the offense was struggling. The offense was struggling majority part of the game. But you notice when you start giving the ball to Derrick Henry, your offense started to put up points. They started to move the ball. Why would you, as John Harbaugh, why would you go away from Derrick Henry? This is why you got Derrick Henry for games like this. This is why you got him. And I start seeing people calling for John Harbaugh's job. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he should lose his job, but I can't defend you. I can't defend you. There's no way I can defend you. Derrick Henry only touched the ball 16 times in a game that featured cold conditions. He averaged 5.3 yards per carry. In the third quarter, the Ravens trailed 21-13 and marched 80 yards in 7 plays for a touchdown. Henry carried the ball on 5 of those plays and gained 46 yards. Derrick Henry only had 2 carries the rest of the game. John Harbaugh, that's on you. That's on you. It's no way in the world Derrick Henry should have, from the third quarter, he should have only touched the ball two times after that. That's ridiculous. This is what you brought Derrick Henry in for. Take the pressure off Lamar. Hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Your offense started to move. When Derrick Henry had the ball in his hands. And I know some people going to say, well, it's hard to run the ball when you down. Baltimore wasn't down by a substantial amount. It say they was only trailing 21-13. You know, they were only trailing 21-13. 80-yard drive. Derrick Henry had 46 of those yards. So how can he only? So it ain't like they was down double digits, a substantial amount. They had enough time to where Derrick Henry could have still touched the ball. This is what you got him for. So I don't know, John Harbaugh, you dropped the ball on that one. You dropped the ball on that one, John Harbaugh. I'm not gonna lie to you, and you already know, 50% of the blame, it gotta go to Mark Andrews. I'm not gonna pile on Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews had a terrible game. Let's get that out there. Let's put that out there. He had a terrible game. I just don't want to pile on because Mark Andrews have made some amazing plays for Baltimore too. But Mark Andrews lost him in this game though. And I hate to say it like that, but he lost him this game. You had a crucial drop in the second quarter. You had the fourth quarter fumble. And then you had the 2-point conversion drop. Now, the fourth quarter fumble, I don't understand. You catch the ball. Why are you trying to make a move and go sideways? Why not go straight up the field? The defender seen the ball, punched it right out. I don't understand that. Bro, go upfield. You're trying to go sideways. I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. You get the ball punched out. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Buffalo got points off of that drive. You know what I'm saying? But just it was bad. It was bad. In the 2-point conversion, I mean, you couldn't have dialed up a better play. Lamar running to his right. Mark Andrews is wide open. I don't know if he was more concerned about his footing or if he didn't know if he was at the goal line. I don't know what. But when you bobble the ball in them type of conditions, it's hard to make that catch. Lamar couldn't have threw the ball better. I see some people trying to say the ball was inaccurate and this and that. No, the ball was right on the numbers. Mark Andrews got to catch that. He got to catch that. Point blank period. Even if the ball was a little, Mark Andrews got to make that catch. You got to make that catch for your quarterback. You got to. You have to. Mark Andrews was able to get open in the flat. As Jackson rolled to his right, Jackson placed the ball right on target, giving Andrews a chance to tie the game, but the standout tight end dropped the ball at the goal line. It was unfortunate. It was really unfortunate. I don't feel like the Bills did anything special to better than Baltimore. I just think Baltimore had some unforced errors that led to Buffalo getting points, even if it was 3 points, a touchdown, whatever. And that lost them the game. And Lamar and the crew, they going to be kicking themselves all summer about this, you know, and it's going to be tough. You just got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. I think they got to, I think them not having Zay Flowers played a factor as well. I'm not going to use that as a huge excuse, but I think it played a factor. But Baltimore should have won this game. Baltimore should have won this game. They led in every statistical category throughout the entirety of the game. Total yards, Baltimore won 416 to 273. Passing yards, Baltimore won 240 to 126. Rushing yards, Baltimore won 176 to 147. Every category Baltimore won. Baltimore had. Isaiah Likely gave you a good game. 4 receptions, 73 yards with a touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 4 receptions, 66 yards with a touchdown. I just feel like Baltimore dropped the ball on this one. But if I had to go percentage, I would go Lamar 40%, John Harbaugh 10%, and I would give Mark Andrews 50% of the blame. On the Buffalo Bills side of things, like I reiterated a couple times, I don't feel like they did anything special. Josh Allen went 16 to 22 for 127 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions with an 86.7 QB rate. He rushed for 20 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Cook gave you 67 yards, no touchdown. Ty Johnson 31 yards. Ray Davis 29 yards and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir gave you 6 receptions, 67 yards, no touchdowns. After Khalil Shakir, no receiver behind him had more than 15 yards. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Buffalo didn't do anything special. But the main thing you see, and every team that won this past weekend in the divisional round, they had 0 turnovers. Turnovers lose you the game. Turnovers lose you the game in the playoffs. That's what lose you the game. Turn the football over. The same thing happened with Detroit against the Commanders. Jared Goff turned the ball over 3 times. Jaden Daniels had 0 turnovers. Turnovers win and lose you football games. It's that simple. Baltimore made costly mistakes. Buffalo didn't. They capitalized off it. They won the game. But I'm not going to put all the blame on Lamar Jackson. He got to hold some blame because he's the quarterback, and you know his resume in the playoffs doesn't look very good. But I blame the first half on him, but I think in the second half there was not much more Lamar could have done. Lamar put them in the perfect position to at least tie the game. Mark Andrews dropped that pass, and that was all she wrote. So Baltimore going to have to do something over the summer. They headed to Cancun. Buffalo's headed to Kansas City. And we'll just see how Baltimore bounce back from this. I think in the offseason they need to try to go get another wide receiver. And I think they should be okay. I think if they can manage to bring back this core that they got and just add a little bit to it, I think we'll see Baltimore back in the playoffs next year, possibly AFC Championship game, contending for a Super Bowl. But as of right now, they gone home. So moving on. Now, like I said, this weekend, we got the NFC and AFC Championship games coming up. So I'm going to preview those games and give you my opinion and predictions on what I think should happen and what I think, you know what I'm saying, give my opinions on them and who I think going to win those games. So first and foremost, I'm going to start off with the Eagles versus the Commanders. Sunday at 3 o'clock. Season series 1-1. Eagles won the first game in Philly. Washington won the second game in DC. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. A lot of Eagles fans say Washington wouldn't have won that second game if it wasn't for Jalen Hurts going out. My argument to that is, you correct. Jalen Hurts did go out, but the starting defense was there. Besides C.J. Gardner-Johnson. A lot of people seem to forget that C.J. Gardner-Johnson did get ejected in that game. I think in this game right here, it's just going to come down to the main thing. Who can make the other team make mistakes. If you're Washington, you got to go in this game thinking that we can't allow Saquon Barkley to beat us. They gotta figure out a way to slow down Saquon Barkley and make Jalen Hurts beat them with their arms. If Jalen Hurts can beat them throwing the football, I think as a Washington fan, you should be able to live with that. Because I would rather Jalen Hurts beat me with his arm than allow Saquon Barkley to dominate the game on the ground. Because if Saquon Barkley get it going with that offensive line, Washington is going to be in for a long day. So I think the goal that they should come in with is we're going to load the box. We're not going to allow Saquon, or try not to allow Saquon Barkley to get off on the ground. And I like my chances with Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. On the Eagles side of things, I think with them, you just gotta contain Jaden Daniels as best as you can. Try to take Terry out. I know the rookie Mitchell is gonna play. I know he had a shoulder stinger during the divisional round. Didn't end up coming back in the game. All reports are saying he's gonna play. So you got him on Terry. De'Ami Brown has shown up in a major way for the Commanders in these playoffs. I think they got Darius Slater match up with him. But so guys like Zacchaeus, guys like Zach Ertz, and that running game for Washington is going to have to get going. Brian Robinson is going to have another game similar to what he had in Detroit. Austin Eckler is going to have to give you something out the backfield. But the main thing for Philly is going to be containing Jaden Daniels, keeping him in the pocket, making him feel uncomfortable. Philly, to me, has the best defensive line in football with Jalen Carter, Davis. What Jalen Carter has been doing, especially in these playoffs, he just took the game completely over against the Rams. They can get home rushing 4. So I think if they can just keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket and make him feel uncomfortable, I think that'll bode well for Philly's defense. And like I said, I think it's just going to be who can make who blink first. Who can make who blink first? You know the atmosphere is going to be crazy in Philly. You know how those fans get. I think Commanders fans should travel pretty well. And that's going to be a hell of a game. That's the game I'm mostly looking forward to heading into the weekend. And what better way to, determine the Super Bowl, who's going to the Super Bowl, who's going to win the NFC, than a division rivalry game. With games like this, throw the seasons out the window, throw the records out the window. This game could go either way. On the Philly side of things, though, that scares me. If this game is close and it comes down to, I think it's Jake Elliott, the kicker for Philly, he has not been good this year. He has missed some kicks. So if it come down to that and the game is on his foot, if I'm a Philly fan, I'll be pretty nervous. On that, but I think it's gonna be a dog fight. I think it's gonna be a hell of a game. I think the spread right now has Philly like 6.5. So that goes to show you that Vegas thinks that the Commanders can bump, because I think it was an 8.5 point favor. I think they only had Detroit favored by like 8. They had Detroit favored at first by like 10, and then it dropped to like 8.5. So this is gonna be a dog fight. I'm looking forward to this game. I know people gonna be mad at me. My prediction for this game, I'm gonna go with Philly. The reason why I'm going with Philly, but don't get it twisted, I believe Washington can go in there and win this game, and I wouldn't be shocked. The reason why I'm gonna go with Philly is just because Philly, they've been there before. I just think that they've been in these situations before. They've won an NFC. They've been to the Super Bowl, so they have that experience going for them. And I just think that when you look at all-around team, Philly has a better all-around team than Washington. And that's no knock on Washington. Washington has had a great season. But I think if you just look at all-around team, I think Philly has the better all-around team. And I just think that this is going to be the best defense that Washington has faced in this entire playoffs. And I think that Philly has the personnel. I believe that they're able to match up with Washington and that firepower that they have on the offensive side. The main thing that I believe is going to be with them is being able, like I said, to contain Jaden Daniels and, being able to get home with 4. Nolan Smith has been having a great playoff. I mentioned Jalen Carter, Davis. You got Sweat on that other side. That's what I think is going to be the keys to Philly winning this game, which I think they ultimately will. If Washington wants to pull an upset like they did in Detroit, they got to keep the main thing. Jaden Daniels has to be spectacular. He's been spectacular all year and in these playoffs. They're going to need him to be spectacular again. Don't not make the costly mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. Like I said before, Brian Robinson is going to have the same kind of game he had in Detroit. And I think their defense is going to have to get some stops. Take the ball out of Saquon Barkley's hands. Make Jalen Hurts throw it and live with the results. But that's my prediction on that game and my preview and what I think is going to happen. We'll find out Sunday. Give me your predictions and let me know what you think and how that game will go down below in the comments. Moving on to the next game, the AFC Championship game. Sunday, I believe the start time is about 6:30, 7 o'clock, if I may be wrong. If I may be right. You have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. My opinion on this game is Buffalo going to have to play a lot better than they did against Baltimore. This game is going to come down to the greatness of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to have to go out there and make plays, not only with his arms, not only with his feet, but with his arms as well. Josh Allen is 0-3 versus the Chiefs in his career. Anybody that has, I think this is the best shot for Josh Allen to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, because anybody that has watched all year, this is not the same Kansas City Chiefs teams that we've been accustomed to throughout the years. So I think if Josh Allen can go in there, make some great plays, I think they can go in there and pull an upset. I'm going to say it early. I'm going with Kansas City. This is no knock against Buffalo. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Buffalo, but I just think to have to go to go up to Kansas City and have to go up against that crowd. You got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Pacheco, Hunt in the backfield, giving them what he giving them, and that defense always is solid. I just think it's going to be hard. And maybe hindsight is 20. I'm going off of the last thing I seen from Buffalo. What I seen from Buffalo, I didn't feel like Buffalo should have won that game against Baltimore. They did. Congratulations to them. But I think that was more so Baltimore making mistakes than Buffalo actually, winning that, doing what they supposed to do and winning that game. They're going to have to go in there and have a way better game. And like I said, it's going to all depend on the shoulders of Josh Allen. Shakir is going to have a good game. They're going to have to get some from Dalton Kincaid. They're going to have to get some from Keon Coleman. They're going to have to get some from Amari Cooper. They're going to have to get some from Cooks. Cooks, to me, is one of the best running backs in football. I don't know why somehow he's never really mentioned, or when you hear best running backs in football, Cooks' name never comes up. But Cooks is going to have to be heavily involved. Ty Johnson. It's going to take a complete team effort. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Josh Allen. Point blank period. It's going to come down to Josh Allen. And can that defense get timely stops? Like I said, Kansas City has not been very impressive this year, even in their first playoff win. Even the starters were out for 3 weeks. This was their first time playing in 3 weeks against Houston, but I didn't feel like they didn't look impressive. If Buffalo can come in there and that offense and that defense can get some timely stops, and Josh Allen can go and do what he need to do and kill with his legs and with his arm, I think Buffalo has a shot to go in there and maybe pull off the upset. But right now, as we speaking today, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. I know a lot of people don't want him to win, and now people talking about the refs and everything. And the refs did, before we go move any forward, the refs did make some horrible calls, I think, in that Texas game. You can't keep allowing Patrick Mahomes to scramble around and drop at the last minute and then call a roughing the pass. We can't keep doing that. But I think Kansas City would have won that game ultimately anyway. But the refs got to get out the way. I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I just can't. Him, Travis Kelce, you know what the type of animal Travis Kelce turns into come playoff time. Just the different things he can do. Andy Reid, the play calls that they can hit you with. And it's like somebody out of nowhere who you never expect always ends up having a big game for them. Josh Allen got to come in there with that chip on his shoulder and just, like he said, in order to be the best, you got to you want to get to the Super Bowl, you got to go through Kansas City. Everybody want Kansas City to lose. So Josh Allen, the ball is in your court. This will be your fourth. You 0-3 against them in the play. They sent you home 3 times and stopped you from reaching your ultimate goal. But I think this game right here, I think, like I said, I'm more excited for the Eagles and Commanders game. I'm not poo-pooing on that game, but I got Kansas City. I don't see Buffalo going up there and being able to pull off the upset. I think it can be a close game, but I'm going with Kansas City over Buffalo. So I'm predicting right now a Eagles and Chiefs rematch in the Super Bowl this upcoming year for the chip. We'll see though. I could be wrong. On both. I want y'all to comment below and let me know what y'all think. And you know what I'm saying, how y'all feel about it. Give me y'all score predictions, who y'all think gonna win or whatever. Comment down below and let me know what y'all think. But those are my previews and predictions for the AFC and NFC championship games. Moving on, last but not least, my final topic. Last night, the Ohio State Buckeyes took down the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to become the national champ and to become the national champions of college football. Shout out to Ohio State. They did what they were supposed to do. I felt like this was huge for Ohio State. This was huge for Ryan Day, especially after losing that last game against Michigan. And everybody doubting, throwing them under the bus, saying that if they didn't win they didn't win the national championship this year, he may have been on the hot seat. This was big for Ryan Day. This was big for that team. All the guys that could have went in the draft last year in return. And this was a $20 million roster. They were the best team hands down in this entire college football playoff. They steamrolled Tennessee, steamrolled Oregon. Steamroll. They ran through everybody. And to get to and they ran through Notre Dame last night. The game wasn't close for the most part. Notre Dame tried to make it interesting at the end, but they steamrolled Notre Dame too. But Ohio State was the best team hands down in this playoff. To me, they had the best player in Jeremiah Smith. He had a great game again yesterday. Emeka Ibuka looked good. The running back duo of Henderson and Junkins, and then Will Howard played a phenomenal game. But this was huge. I think out of the whole situation, this was most huge for Ryan Day. He needed this, especially losing the way he been losing to Michigan, and to lose this last game before going to starting the playoff. Ryan Day needed this the most. I'm mostly happy for him because Ryan Day been catching hell. And, for you to bounce back with this roster and go and win the national championship, shout out to Ryan Day. Shout out to Ohio State University. Shout out to my man Jack Sawyer, Captain Jack. You know what I'm saying? He was looking bad snatching that flag against Michigan, at the last game of the season. But they bounced back and did what they were supposed to do, man. Shout out to Ohio State. They can't talk that trash no more. Yeah, y'all lost to Michigan, but y'all got the ultimate prize and, winning that natty. So I wanted to give Ohio State a shout out for, winning the national championship. And now, they're going to lose some guys going in the draft. So we're going to see how they rebuild this thing next season, and we're going to see how it play out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode, man. This is episode 31. I appreciate everybody for tuning in each and every week. Like I said, I need y'all to continue to smash that subscribe button. We on our way to 200 subscribers. Keep showing that support. Like and share the content. Follow me on all social media platforms. TikTok is back after a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? Follow me on all social media platforms, man. And just keep supporting. We going up 2025, man. I see y'all next time.